On Halloween night, we had one group of 6 trick-or-treaters. That's more than last year, and considering how the rain was pelting down, good on them for powering through. Now I'm nibbling on mini Twix and Baby Ruth with my morning coffee. There are other candies, but the phrase Skittles and coffee makes me shudder. Hi, I'm Irene. This is Inkworks, and I'm still a little groggy. That could be due to a couple of factors. One, I've recently adjusted my melatonin dosage, and 2, I've been watching and reading a lot of murder mysteries, thrillers, and horror stories. So it's no surprise I dreamt of the dead. Thus the coffee and chocolate to cheer me up. But that's beside the point, which is, this is the final session in the Mijello Journal Mission Gold Pure Pigment Watercolor Series. Phew, I rarely say it all like that because it's such a mouthful. It's called the Mijello Journal since I dedicated an entire sketchbook to this project. You'll get a flip through showing each spread near the end of the video, but first, as usual, it's the swatching and mixing, then painting. This time, the featured pigment is PW6, which is titanium oxide. Mijello calls this Chinese white. Now, this can get confusing since most other brands make their Chinese white with PW4, zinc oxide. Mijello has another white, again using PW6, called titanium white, which is part of their pure pigment lineup, but not included in this 34-color set. The difference between Mijello's Chinese white and titanium white is that the former is semi-transparent, whereas the latter is more opaque. Or it should be. I don't own Mijello's titanium white, so I can't offer a comparison. Okay. That's enough about pigments for now. If I say white one more time, I'll have to break into the Skittles, and you know how I feel about Skittles with coffee. So I heard World of Warcraft will soon implement a player housing feature. I haven't had a subscription to WoW since maybe 15 years ago. But housing? That's so tempting. There's nothing I like better in a game than customizing my domicile. Close seconds would be fishing, cooking, and tailoring. In fact, I'm desperately longing for an MMORPG that minimizes war while maximizing craft. Basically, I want World of Craft, okay? A game where I can cure boar hides, stitch leggings, sell goods from a market stall, and use the profits to decorate my woodland cottage. If I have to wield an enchanted short bow to fight off marauding bandits, then so be it. Although it's raining today, I slid open the patio door and took in the seasonal feels from the backyard. I simply stood there enjoying the colorful foliage while I still could. Whoa, that sounded ominous, as if the mothership's coming to transport me back to Proxima Centauri. No, I'm just highly aware of the brevity of peak fall, and the fact that one morning soon I'll slide open the patio door to naked branches and late autumn haze. For a long time, brevity was a challenging word for me because I often confused it with levity. Even now, I still have to resort to an alliterative mnemonic. Levity equals laughter. Brevity equals briefness. Anyway, I stood there at the patio door, ogling the leaves that stood out as the most saturated, and waffling over whether that shade should be called red or orange. It took a good 4 sips of steaming hot coffee before it dawned on me that, as one who paints, that's something I should know. I mean, it's not like colors, swatch charts? Never heard of them. So I settled on vermilion, and frankly, I think I've done enough for the day. White watercolor isn't something I'd experimented with. Before now, that is. But I'm kinda liking the milky quality of these mixes. I'm specifically picturing applications in floral painting. But it needn't end there, surely. The point is, this has opened my eyes to more possibilities, and it's thanks to Windy Wednesday's comment a while back. Was it 6 months ago? Anyway, it was for the video featuring Red Orange PO73. Windy had talked about how they use white watercolor. Well, it intrigued me, and I couldn't let the idea go. Now there's a lovely and satisfying ending to this whole pure pigment project. I'm worried I might forget, so I'll say it now. Huge thanks to everyone who watched and encouraged this Mijello Journal series. It may have taken me 4 years to complete, but now that it's done, the sense of accomplishment is heady. I've become so addicted to Libby, the digital public library app, that when it went down for a day, a single day, mind, I sort of wigged out. Sure, I could have done other things like paint, write, or clean. But who can be expected to function while their reading cues refuse to synchronize? What can I say? I live for watching the books slowly advancing along my holds shelf from 14 weeks to 12 weeks to 10 weeks, and so on. In that way, I can relate to Gladys from the movie Weapons when she said, "It's a peculiarity of mine. I don't even try to rationalize it anymore." One question, though. Why isn't the hold shelf called the wait shelf? Some of the most popular books, such as The Thursday Murder Club, require intense waiting after all. But perhaps they mean hold as in we're holding your place in line. Whatever. Libby is a fabulous free service, so I can't complain too much. The other day, producer Mike and I were reminiscing, not about the fun time we had at the Portland Pen Show last summer, nor the trip we took to Disneyland 8 years ago. No, we were good timesing over the summer of 24, when I'd broken my arm and he had to assist me with everything, from showering and dressing to propping up my pillows, only to get yelled at for not spreading enough jam on my toast. I can't think of jam on toast without also thinking of the 1987 film Throw Mama from the Train. It was a comedic take on Hitchcock's Strangers on a Train. Anyway, there's a moment where Mama shouts at her son to make her some toast with jam on it. At least that's how I remember it. I always chuckled recalling that because it was hilarious, but I've never been able to find a quote or a clip to validate that memory. Considering I didn't really care for the movie as a whole, I'm not going to re-watch it just to catch a single line of dialogue. So maybe someone could let me know Yes, the line is there, and it's a total knee slapper. Or no, there's nothing of the sort, and I need to stop gaslighting people with my jam on toast stories. Since we're talking about food, a few nights ago we made a chicken enchilada bake. We layered the sauce, corn tortillas, and shredded chicken with cheese, then baked it in a casserole dish. It was very tasty, especially since our sauce was a combination of condensed cream of chicken soup, canned tomato sauce, and a packet of enchilada seasoning mix. While enjoying the end result, we agreed the dish was missing one ingredient that would have pushed it into delicious territory, and that was a can of green chilies. We just don't stock our pantry with canned green chilies, but I'm thinking we should start. Pantries. I've got a Pinterest board dedicated to them. My dream home would, of course, include a large walk-in pantry. One side would have floor-to-ceiling shelves. The other side would be the scullery, aka a secondary cleanup station with a sink and a dishwasher. Another side would have the coffee counter, complete with a bar sink, my mug collection, and a DeLonghi all-in-one coffee maker and espresso machine. Yet another side would have dozens of wall pegs for my collection of aprons. Wait, is that too many sides? There won't be any space for a door to get in and out. No worries. Anything's possible when one is dreaming. By the way, I don't currently collect aprons, but the day I can afford my dream home is the day I can fill it with all kinds of weird stuff. The painting turned out fairly well. The best aspect is all of the pretty pastel colors and how I was able to get soft fadeaway washes with many of the strokes. Unfortunately, some of that was obscured by the subsequent grayish line work, a case of losing something while gaining something else. I'm not crying because I don't hate it. Well, the tiny baby Ruths are all gone. I call them tiny size because they're barely one bite. It seems to me that once a treat gets that small, it should no longer be individually wrapped. That's like wrapping single pieces of popcorn. If this keeps going, those tiny candy bars will soon be the size of peas and only good for sprinkling over ice cream. Do better, world. We went shopping earlier, not to buy more baby Ruths, just some necessities like milk and TP, but I took the opportunity to get a few more wax melts. Even with narrowing my selection to food scents only, it's so hard to choose. Do I want blueberry tart or lemon blueberry donut? Caramel apple toffee or maple sugar drizzle? Needless to say, I was in that aisle for quite a while, carefully cracking open the clamshells to sniff test. Yes, I've become that person, but I refuse to feel shame because those things aren't sealed and actually open very easily. It's almost like they want you to get your nose up in there. Plus, there was another gal 5 feet away doing the exact same thing. If only Walmart security cameras recorded sound, they would have gotten an earful of As always, a list of the tools and supplies used are in the description. Of course, I had to include a quick flip through, a bit of nostalgia for those who've stuck with this project since way back. Brings the memories, doesn't it? Like that time I used the wrong marker and it smeared under the watercolors, or when I lost all of the footage for one session and had to upload a sad, well, here's the end result anyway, video. Oh, the fun times we had. I nearly forgot that I promised a short list of the colors I used the most. Just a reminder that before each spread, I tested the featured pigment with all of the other ones on the palette. I left white off that palette, so it was a total of 33 colors. From that test sheet, I selected 12 mixes to recreate on the spread. So this is all arbitrary preference on my part. The number one pigment I use the most in this series is Cobalt Black PBK27. Can you believe it? I wouldn't call myself goth or emo or whatever the term is these days, but I do like my dark shades. Next are Quinophthalone Yellow Light PY138 and Quinacridone Violet PV19, closely followed by Dioxazine Violet PV23. Then it was Permanent Yellow Deep PY65, which is also known as Hansa Yellow, Phthalo Blue PB156, Viridian PG7, better known as Phthalo Green, and Green Gold PY150, which is actually Nickel Azo Yellow. I'm happy to share this final session in the Mijello Journal series. Thanks to all the viewers who watched along. I couldn't have done it without your encouraging comments. Until next time, remember, journaling is an ongoing practice, not a one-and-done event. So if you enjoyed this series, keep your eyes open for a new watercolor journal series to come. And stay artsy, my friends.